Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to Gift of Healing TV and a very chilly UK. I am delighted for the programme today to be joined by Jo Pitcher. Jo, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for having me and inviting me to be here with you.
It's a real pleasure. And Jo's going to be sharing feminine wisdom in a polarized world. Before we get going, I'm just going to give a little bit of information. I'm going to read her bio, basically. Jo is an advocate for heart-centered living, grounded spirituality, and embodied wisdom. Jo has been a well-being practitioner and holistic healer for over 25 years. She leads groups and individuals to remember their inner presence, sacred heart, interconnection to life, potential for love, freedom, and deeply grounded knowing through body, breath, movement, energy, language, sound, and silence. Yeah, we could all do so much more silence in our lives. Unwinding and releasing what gets in the way of our innate lightness. Wonder and playful curiosity opens us to the vital world energy flow within us. Is it vital or is it? Yeah, it is.
Well, I would probably say vital, but
yes, yeah. So yeah, it's me. I've probably got aspects of dyslexia, so I okay. Vital. That's right. I did think it should be vital, but yeah, I apologize, folks. Vital energy flow within us. Jo guides with a deep reverence for Mother Earth and the natural world. She encourages us to fall back in love with life, ourselves and each other. Empowerment, integration, and nourishment are key to the inner transformation that supports those that find her offerings. Working within sacred space, deep listening, ceremony, and ritual, honor the cyclical nature of our lives and the rhythms in which we live. Jo, thank you so much for coming and joining us. And I am going to say to you to start with, please share a little of your story and why this particular topic speaks to you to the extent you want to actually share it.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much, and for that introduction as well. Well, the topic itself, I felt there was so much I could talk about, and I actually intuited. I sat and I asked for guidance about what to share because there are so many threads of what I bring, and I wanted to find a way to sort of bring that together. But I couldn't do it with my mind. I couldn't find that with my mind. So I intuited, I asked for guidance, and feminine wisdom in a polarized world is what came very clearly. And I thought, really? Is that it? I wanted to change it and I wanted to add and take away things. And it was like, no, this is it. This is what it is. And actually, from the bio as well, I think that it really, really shows in that language that is what I've been doing. That is where I've been going in my life journey as well, in my experience and my work with individuals and with groups. And it was actually lovely for me as well to come up with that through my sort of intuitive self, through the heart, through the soul, to go, yeah, feminine wisdom in a polarized world. And for me, that journey has been really coming out of the mind, not that I ignore the mind, include the mind, but for a long time, I really liked logic and rationale, and I loved to understand how everything worked. And I really wasn't interested for a period of time in intuition and stories and legends. And I guess you could even say play. For a little while there, I lost that kind of sense of playfulness, and it became like I need to understand, I want it to make sense. And then through my journey, I've really found that I can open up both. So I can keep that rationale, I can keep that amazing ability to visit the mind and to ask questions, and to bring intellect, to bring the mental body, but actually not to let that run the show, to come into the heart, to come into the body, to come deeper and deeper into the heart, into the body. So what we are receiving is wisdom and information through the lens of the present. So when we're in our mind and when we're operating from that level of mind, we're really operating from the past or from the future. We're not operating in the interface of now. And the more that we come in, the more we listen, the more that we can perceive through, as I say, kind of that interface of senses, body, intuition, the heart field, we get to experience things for the first time. We get to experience them now. And then we might visit the mind and we notice, oh, the mind's got ideas and thoughts about what this should be or what it means. But it's like, okay, if we drop back into body, if we drop back into sensing and let go of what we think this means or what we think and believe about this moment or this thought or this experience, what is there? What is the truth? What is the deeper truth in that moment? And my work's really fed that. My work's fed that. My life has fed that. And yeah, I feel like I'm still on that journey. I don't know if that journey is ever going to end, but through the practices that I've been doing myself, and a lot of that is incorporated into my healing journeys as well, and the sessions that I run. Yeah, it's really integrating heart, integrating mind, integrating body wisdom, energy field. And for me, as we said in the opening, that has to include earth, that has to include connection to the grounding and the landscape where we are. That sense of not only am I able to operate from here, I know where here is. I've got a sense of I'm here, I'm planted, I'm connected, and then I can step into the moment and breathe and be in the moment as fully as possible.
Our mind can be our biggest enemy if we allow it to be. It can so disrupt our lives, and it's that I don't like the word need. It's about encouraging the mind to support the heart choices. For me, I see the heart choices as being the wisdom of our soul. Our heart is our connection to our soul. And if we can get that happy medium between the two. You talk about polarities, polarized world. Just in case there's anybody that listens to this that isn't too sure if they understand what those words mean, do you think you could actually share what you mean by them?
Yeah, of course. And just to speak about the piece about the mind, and I'm sure we'll talk about the mind some more. But that, for me, it's really befriending the mind. It's really including the mind and recognizing that it's our greatest ally. It's really keeping us safe and showing us things that happened in the past and trying to direct us to not have experiences, thoughts, feelings, emotions that we might have experienced in the past. So that lovely inclusion and befriending and softening and welcoming of the mind is really key. So we might want to talk more about that. But yeah, polarities. So it's the wording and the language that came. And I think at the moment, I am seeing a lot of what I'm calling polarity or polarization or perceived polarities. I even wrote where one thing is against another, or we perceive one thing is against another, and it doesn't really matter what those things are, but we're sort of seeing, or I'm seeing, that we're being shown I'm this or I'm this, or you can have this or you can have this, you can be this or you can be this. And I'm going, actually, what if we look at both? What if we bring, and not in every situation, but in a lot of the work I do, it's like, okay, so we have two beliefs running, let's say. What's to say one's right and one's wrong? So as soon as we have a polarity, we tend to say one's right and one's wrong. We're putting things apart, pulling things apart from one another. And I'm really talking about what happens when we start to bring them closer together, or we give them equal space and we hold them in a way that we can go, there's this and there's this. And yeah, I'm finding that really powerful. I'm finding that really inspiring. And that's particularly come through the moon courses I've been doing. So I'm on the second year of a lunar wisdom course that I've been running. And what we've been doing is we've been looking at polarities across the zodiac wheel. So looking at archetypes, so sort of the energies and qualities of the signs of the zodiac. And I started to realize that if we look at them all in isolation, we can pick up wonderful qualities, we can release things about ourselves, we can include pieces of ourselves, wisdom, elements. There's so much within that wheel. But if we then start to look at them together, and I started looking them across the axis, I was like, oh, they look and sound on the surface that they're opposite and they're opposing. They're part of the same continuum. And if we start to bring them together, they support and they actually complement and they really work together. And we need that one and that one to have more. And the more we push them apart, the more we're actually kind of splitting ourselves apart. And the more we bring them together, the more we're coming into that wholeness. And so we've been doing that across the wheel. I've been experiencing that for myself. And then really looking at with the whole thing. So we look at things separate to be able to then go, oh, we're everything. We're all of it. So I hope that answers the question. But please ask more if there's more.
And for those watching live, if you've got a question or a comment, please do put that into the chat. And I've totally blown my train of thought. Never mind.
Sorry.
No, but we talk about being poles apart, don't we? And yeah, I'm just thinking about sort of, there are so many things. We talk about the black and white, the heat and the cold. And when you were talking and sort of thinking, I was thinking about the fire and the air and the water. And it's just like, we require all of it.
Yeah.
Fire can be good in some respects, because actually some plants, their seeds can't actually sprout forth until they get that heat of the fire. And we require fire for warmth. Our ancestors absolutely required fire for warmth, yet it can also be so destructive. We require water. It brings life. It can also be so destructive. We think about air, but if you get major storms, that air, we need it to breathe. It brings life, but it can also be so destructive. So it's being aware that there is actually an opposite within probably everything. Yeah, and so it's thinking about that. We have the North Pole and the South Pole, but we also have the East and the West. They're not poles necessarily, but that they are there.
Yeah.
And so, but you talk about the feminine wisdom. And so maybe maybe what we've been saying is just that. I don't know. But you talk about the feminine wisdom. So share what you mean by that.
So thank you, Sarah. I love how you were saying about the poles and describing and sort of also showing, sort of the north and south, east and west, inside, outside. I mean, there are so many ways that we can look at that. And what I really saw as the visual was, yes, we have north and south, up and down, and then we have the middle. And so if we keep going to the edges, and we're going across, and I'm this, and then I'm this, and then I don't know, and then I'm confused, and I thought I was this, and now I'm not, and I've changed my mind. And it's like, that's great, that's human, yeah?
Yeah.
That's okay, if that's where we're at, that's stages that we go through. But what happens if we come to the center? What happens if we actually come into the middle And so that is that lens of the heart. That is that spiritual heart. That's that compassionate heart, a deeply compassionate heart that is at the core and at the center and able to embrace all of it. And that for me is very crucial to this feminine wisdom, where we can then navigate, we can move between, but we know where our middle is. We can come back to the middle, or we learn to be in the middle and then to reach out into different places, but not to lose our central core, our central, what would I call it? I think heart. I think it's just that central heart. And as I did that, that word silence you were saying at the beginning came back to me. Like there can be a lot of confusion in the movement between and the conversation and the this and that and them and me and yes and no. And it's like, okay, if we settle into ourselves and we settle into our heart, there's this silence. There is this steadiness. There is this quiet that arises quite naturally. And it may take a little bit of practice if someone's new to it, but there is just this steadiness and this silence and this quiet where the duality falls away. And the perceived, I think that's why I've said perceived, the perceived polarities fall away. And we can then expand from there. And we realize, well, I can expand into everything. I can be all of it. And you get this beautiful interconnection, this sense of, well, from here I can expand up, down, in, out, however you feel that for yourself. But, oh, I can reach out into everything. So I am part of the earth. We are innately part of the earth, but I can also reach out. Oh, and I can connect with other people, with neighbors. I can connect with people further away. What about the moon? What about, I mean, it's vast. It's vast. We can reach as far as we wish. And some people find that quite triggering and challenging. So we would then work with something much closer. We might even just work here, and we would gently and gradually maybe just start to say, okay, can you have a sense of all of yourself? Because it's got to start with ourselves. It's an internal journey first, that perception of internal conflict, internal yeses and nos, polarization. If we can really start to bring the wholeness there, we take that into our interactions. We take that into how we see, hear, feel, and show up in the world with other people. So feminine wisdom would have that heart, that compassion, the intuitive. So again, you know, the intellect, wonderful. That's part of our human toolbox, but coming back into intuition, sensing, feeling, knowing. And the opposite of when I was trying to work everything out and when I was trying to understand everything and throwing out things I didn't understand because, well, they don't make sense to the mind, and going, oh, but I know that. I know that. I feel that. And that's different. Yeah. And then the inclusion of the earth, the inclusion of the elements. I mean, again, we could go further and further out, but those are some of the things we've already spoken about that I think it really embraces the inclusion of, we are all of the elements. We are all of that. We are mind, we are body, we are soul, we are heart. Yeah.
Listening to what you were saying, and I don't think there'll be anybody out there who hasn't, somebody has said something and your immediate reaction, your gut tells, oh, I'd love to do that. And before they've even finished speaking, your mind took you out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's bringing the mind into, okay, why is that not a good idea? Okay, yes, we can do it. Can you help me do it? I several years back, it is a matter of saying, thank you to our mind, our monkey mind, ego mind, whatever people want to call it, for the protection that it's given us. That was its very first role, to be our protector. The problem is we're all adults now and it's taught us very well and it's still doing the same job.
It thinks we're all still children. That's the trouble. It thinks we're all little.
As far as our mind is concerned, absolutely. But it sort of came to me in the form of sort of like a business, and your heart is the CEO of your life, and sorry, accountants, but your mind, the mind is the accountant of your life, because the CEO says, "Oh, we can do this. We can do." No, we can't afford to do this. We can't afford to do that. We can't afford to do the other. No, that's not. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to do that. That's what our mind does. And so it was just like, mind, thank you, but I would like to change your role. How about becoming the personal assistant to my heart and helping make my heart choices happen? I still have problems with my monkey mind. I think we always will, because we're here having a human experience. But it's much more these days about, oh, I like that. How can I make it happen? And if it's something that really speaks to you, you're going to make it happen. And it's, yes, there are going to be hiccups. Yes, there are going to be things you're going to have to, challenges, etc. Of course there are. Not everything will always flow, but then not everything is necessarily meant to happen the way you think it should. And I suppose it's part and parcel of all of this is trusting universal divine timing. And you talk about sort of, we can totally expand out there. And there are an awful lot of people who believe that our souls have had experiences elsewhere. There is a vastness out there. But we are here just having this physical experience. Our soul has so much wisdom to share with us, and it shares it through our heart, intuition, gut instinct, inspiration. And it's trusting that, isn't it? That we can be in the whole. But don't worry about the monkey mind, the ego, occasionally doing what it's best at.
Yeah. And I think with meditation, mindfulness practice, it occurred to me as you were speaking that some people are really of the opinion or the misperception that meditation, mindfulness practices, presencing, whatever you want to call those practices, they're supposed to eradicate and get rid of the mind, that we're supposed to have no mind at all. It's supposed to just be offline. And that's just not the human experience. That's not, how would we function without a mind? How would we function and be pragmatic and use it when we need to use it? You're saying about the accountant. Yeah, great. We need to be able to use it for those intellectual things and to visit the mental library for experiences, for memories, for knowing how to do things. I mean, we've really created those pathways to be able to be the living, breathing, functioning human beings that we are. And yet when we meditate, have mindful moments, if we're worrying about there being no mind and the mind's busy, or we're thinking about something, or I was often thinking about what I wanted to eat. I'm sure other people can relate to that. What am I going to have for dinner tonight? If we worry about that, we get so caught in the thought. And then actually, if we come to practices where it's bringing us down into the body, down into our heart, down into our felt sense, the mind could still be busy. It tends to slow down anyway. It tends to have a natural slowing. And we're sort of taking awareness away from the mind. We're coming into our center. And when we come into the center, and when we arrive in our inner knowing, we arrive in that seat of our heart, we might notice that the mind is still there. We might not. We start to actually be in that experiencing. We start to be in that awareness. And certainly my experience, and from working with others, is what happens is often the mind goes, "Ooh, what are you doing?" And it wants to join in. It's like, what's happening here? It starts to get used to the experience of, well, I'm just feeling into my body. I'm noticing my beautiful plant in my room, and I'm just bathing in this compassion and this silence. And we can invite the mind into that, rather than going, go away, go away. And you think of it like a child or a pet. If you keep telling it to go away, it's going to keep tugging on your sleeve and on your arm. It's like, I'm right here. Whereas if you say, come and see, look what we're doing, come and sit here, come and look at this with me. Wow, a lot of minds will really come on board with that. And maybe they won't. Maybe they're still skipping off thinking about dinner, and we can let that be. So it's not either or. It's, again, not one is right and wrong. It's not, oh, I'm doing it wrong, or I shouldn't do it that way. It's, why are we doing a practice? What is the why? What is the why? Does that quite make sense? Why? What is the why? And not worrying about perfection, not worrying so much about outcome. And again, I think this really speaks of that feminine wisdom, where I know I was really hard on myself with being very driven to kind of that perfectionism and that linear way of working. And I'm going to move from here to here, and goal setting, brilliant in certain settings. But as you say, we're going to be redirected. We're going to think or feel, wow, I want to be doing that instead. And if we're so stuck on this journey here, and our heart's going, I want to go over there. What's over there? We're like, no, I've got to do this bit here. I said I would move from A to B, and nothing's going to pull me off my path. My gosh, what are we missing? How are we missing out on the experience of life? And being able to respond, being able to change our minds, being able to respond in the moment. That's kind of, as I was saying at the beginning, responding to what is present right now, and how am I responding now? Not how I think I should be, or someone else thinks I should be, or how I've been told. It's like, okay, I can redirect, and I can then come into the heart, and I can be in the body experience. And I think the only other piece I would add to that is that a lot of the sensations, experiences held in the body are those experiences that are from childhood, that you were sort of mentioning, where something's happened, and we've got a part of us that's held in the past, and that can come forward and start trying to drive the situation or the narrative, and it can feel very difficult to go, and I'm going to skip over here. It's like, no way, you're not going to do that. I'm going to make you inert. You're going to have pain. That belief's going to come up, that emotion, that memory. Oh my gosh, so clever. So clever. But we actually can include that within the journey and incorporate a healing and again, that sensitivity, that compassion, that witnessing, that allows that to be included, to be held, to be there's so many words I could use there, but that tenderness of, hey, right now, that's not happening anymore. And you were saying about the CEO. The CEO is here, the heart is here, the compassion is here, the holding is here, the container is here. You don't have to do that anymore. And it's like, oh. And often the question is, how old does that part think you are? How old does it think you are? It thinks I'm 4. Yeah, so you've got a 4-year-old trying to drive this moment. Your 4-year-old is your CEO in this moment. But to bring huge compassion and understanding and lightness to that, and go, my gosh, wow, that's, really powerful. It has to be loving. It has to be tender. It has to be genuine for that part to go, oh, it's okay. It can be different. Yeah. And that navigation of those pieces, those parts, those aspects of ourselves can really help with that ability to live in the present and to live the life we really desire, our heart really desires.
Oh, absolutely. There were some words that sort of came to mind as you were sort of speaking. Learned behaviors.
Yeah.
And it's being able to acknowledge them. Sort of, right, I'm witnessing a learned behavior here. I don't have to keep working. I don't have to keep being that way, reacting that way, responding that way. I can change it. The trouble with learned behaviors is something happens and you do exactly the same thing time and time again. Every time it happens, it's being able to then take that step back and say, okay, that's how I usually behave. That's how I usually react. What can I do to change that reaction? Which stops bringing that thing round every time. But I was also thinking about experiences as a child. And I'm talking about young children, very young children, because this is it, because of what happened to me as a child, sort of at just under one, sort of, so you can't explain anything to a child of that age. And I was hospitalized for 3 months around my first birthday. And this was a time parents couldn't stay with their children. And my parents would get to see me once a week for an hour. And Mum said that she would come into the hospital, she'd pick me up, she'd cuddle me, and she'd cradle me, and she kept telling me she loved me. And then she'd leave again. And a few years back, I got to be on The Weakest Link. And that morning, I was having to leave very early. Everybody else had got up there the night before, but I'd had a workshop I had to do. So I didn't get to fly up till that morning because it was I'm in Scotland, I'm right on the south coast. And as I was getting ready to go, I felt this sensation in the pit of my stomach. And how many times had I felt that as a baby? The anticipation. Only what it became for me was fear. Fear that I was going to, every time my parents appeared, oh, they're here. And I realized that morning that what I was feeling wasn't fear. What I was feeling was anticipation. So have we mislabeled things because of our inability at such a young age to be able to name things, to be able to understand a feeling, an experience, etc. And we've labeled it something that it isn't because we haven't been able to understand what it actually was. But that morning, if nothing else, that was the gift given to me. I did get up there eventually. I did get on and I got voted off first. But I didn't get my question wrong. But that's beside the point. I was given an amazing gift that morning of coming to an understanding of what a sensation within me actually meant. So could something you're feeling and you're thinking, oh, it means this, actually mean the total opposite, which is what you're talking about? And so can we bring the two together and think, okay, what was that feeling? What does that feeling mean? And can we help ourselves? Because at the end of the day, we're the only ones who can do it for ourselves, aren't we? Nobody can do it for us. But if the words you share, and if bit I add, can speak to somebody and help people realize that, oh, hang on, I recognize a sensation within me. Does it mean what I think it means? Back to the mind.
Yeah.
On that particular occasion, the mind was changed. So I'm assuming that I don't know, has anything like that happened to you?
That's such a great question. Thank you so much for sharing your experience as well, for sharing your experience. And I think when we share those moments and those experiences, it really does help other people to relate or to have maybe not the same, but a similar human experience. So yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, it is a great question because there's so many pieces that you said in there. So there's the piece about pre-language that we experience so much in that influential time in our first few years where we have no language, where you have no ability to speak or to even think in language about what's happening around us, to ask questions, to make sense of anything. And so, yes, a lot of our behavior, our sensations, our way of relating is set up, the pathways for that are set up at that time. And also, other people will often give us language. Oh, you're nervous, you're worried, you're angry, you're sad, so there are key words that other people might sort of label for us. You know, this is happening, oh, you must be like this. And that's not to say that's wrong. I'm sure I've done that myself. We're just doing the best that we can. But I love that question, and I love that possibility that comes from taking the wording and the labels away. So often with clients, and actually with myself too, but I know we were saying at the beginning before we came on the call that often we remember to do things with other people that we forget for ourselves. But yes, I will say, in fact, I did it even the other day with my son, and I said, if you were to describe this to me as I was an alien and I've just appeared on the planet, I've never experienced anything before, what would you say? How would you describe what's going on right now? What would you say? And same with clients, same with myself. And, you know, I don't want to hear words that are labels. In this moment, you know, let's be open to other things. And then it might be it's hot, it's cold, it's kind of tingly, it's a bit numb, and it kind of moves like this, and it has a sound to it. And when we work in that way, and I work in that way so much, we do start to come out of the mind again, and we're coming into looking at something with more truth, feeling, sensing, witnessing, looking at something from upside down back to front. It's like, oh, I've got this feeling here. What is this sensation? What is it telling me? And, you know, for many years I might have said, oh, it hurts and it's painful and it's annoying and it's in my way. You know, we use this language, and when we start to actually question and go, gosh, that's interesting language, it's in my way and it's annoying and it's sharp, and then we start to open to the possibility of exactly what you're saying. Ah, is it, or is it something else? Is it something that I didn't expect and anticipate? And within that witnessing, without the labeling and without the mind labeling and the pathway of labeling, it's like something new can form, something can shift, something can change. And I do feel it's like it starts to move very organically. Things start to change and go, well, yeah, it kind of moves up towards my shoulder, and then it sort of moves down my arm, and oh, okay, well, it's sort of gone now. It's not there now. So things really move in that way. I work with that myself with things, particularly sensations, bodily sensations. The ones that aren't quite pain, but you're like, oh, I've got pain in this part of my body, or I'm noticing that this part of my body is asking for attention, is needing something. And you asked if it's the opposite. The opposite can be true. I think anything can be true. Can the opposite be true? Yes, I think anything. But the other piece that I've really discovered through my work and through my own navigation is we have something in our awareness, and you were talking particularly about things from childhood. And we have a pattern, we have a way of relating, of being, of showing up, of speaking, whatever it might be. And in order for that to be different, what is needed? And that might be where the polarity comes in more, where it's like, I feel scared. I feel really scared of this thing. Oh my gosh, I can't do that. I'm really, really scared. I was like, okay, sinking into that and sort of asking what is needed, in what situation, in what energy quality, in what color, in what vibration would that change? Would that not be possible? Would the fear dissolve in what? And particularly if you go to the non-language, abstract color, sound, vibration, imagery, working with the more sort of subconscious mind, it's like, oh wow, if I had this color, or if I had this strength in my back, or if I had, and that I think is probably where the polarity is a little bit more true, where in the presence of that cannot survive in a good sense. It's like in the presence of that dissolves, or perhaps it'd be the other way around, that sort of dissolves into that experiencing, into that witnessing and holding. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
At the end, I think it's really a matter of, does it speak to people?
Does it speak to you?
I see it, having felt it, having gone through what I went through, etc. It's just like, and my life has changed so much since the wake up, sort of, because I was a people pleaser. But then there was that light bulb moment. Why am I worrying about what other people think about me when they're not? And those light bulbs can come on. Did that come from my mind? No, that came from my heart. And I felt the weight lift off my shoulders. And I started saying no to others and yes to me. And that was uncomfortable. But it wasn't so uncomfortable for me, because it's time for this to be my life. I've got to let go of all this stuff that's about others. It's not about me. And it didn't go down well with an awful lot of people. Yeah. And how many things do you see, all these quotes, etc. It's about, when you stand up for yourself, when you set your boundaries, when you start saying no to people, people start leaving. And people are very concerned about people leaving. But until they leave, the right people can't come in. Until we start being true to ourselves, being honest about who we are and being honest with others, how are they going to know who we are? We teach people how to treat us. And people pleasers are their own worst enemies. They really are. And I say that from a place of having been one, a very serious one. And being very, very unhappy. Very unhappy. And seriously, there were so many things I wouldn't do for fear of what other people thought of me. And coming out of that, one of the first things I did was become a member of the UK Wolf Conservation Trust, go for a walk with wolves, and then sign up for a project to Romania to track wolves and lynx in the Carpathian Mountains.
Fabulous. Oh my gosh. That's
so it was just like, my mind isn't going to stop me anymore. It's going to help me make these things happen. And no, we didn't go to harm them, because we were working with the Carpathian Large Carnivore Project. So it's about, are you living your life? And if you're not, why not? And what is stopping you? Because I wasn't. And I have, and I've flown a helicopter, and I've done all sorts of things. But I would never bungee jump, but I have zip wired, sort of.
Yeah.
And I've abseiled, sort of. So what's holding you back from doing the things you'd like to do? And if it's fear of what other people think of you. And my mother's reaction when I did the abseil was, "Oh, Sarah, you can't do that." And it was just like, "Oh, yes, I can."
Watch me do
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. And I did. But when I did the wing walk, that I've done one of those as well. When I did the walk, was that a 60th birthday present from a friend? And I had a whole group including my mother, and sort of a whole group of people were there. Everybody that could be there was there to watch. And I did this thing. So I was up there for about 13 minutes. So it's up to us. We can make our lives fulfilling, or we can make them. Sorry, but it was boring being the people pleaser. We are at the end of the program, but before we finish, is there anything that we haven't touched on? And it's gone on its own direction, I know, but anything that
always does.
Anything you feel that you'd like to share that hasn't been touched on at this point?
I think maybe to speak to what you were just saying about, you're really talking about boundaries, and again operating from that bodily sense of boundaries, and learning our true yes and our true no. And so often we try and work it out with the mind, and then we're stuck in duality, we're stuck in multiplicity because the mind's got 100 answers. And when we come into the heart, we have one answer, we have one knowing. And when we come into the body, we have a yes or we have a no. And so to come into that felt sense and that response, and it, again, some people won't have come across this might be new to some people, but it's something we can really learn. And gut feeling, I think everyone has a gut feeling, whether we pay attention to it or not. And people pleasing, something I really identify for myself as well, that I'm coming out the other side of. And people don't like it. That's okay. That's part of the journey, isn't it? And what are the beliefs that are running behind that? What are we worried about when we don't do those things? There's always a reason. And to on your own or with support and guidance, to sort of look at what is driving that and stopping us from, like I say, instead of taking that path, it's like, I want to skip off over there, I want to do wing walking. I said no but to bungee jumping as well. That was a bodily no for me. Skydiving, yes. So I think it comes back to body wisdom. I think it comes back to heart. And as I say, having the mind as this incredible tool, we need it. We need to visit it and use it at the right moments, but not to let it drive our lives. And to know that through that heart, through the genuine compassion, through that acceptance, I think the word acceptance is the word that we've not used. It's like through that acceptance of our life experience, our beliefs, our thoughts, nothing's excluded. Nothing has happened or can happen that keeps you out of your heart and the acceptance and the compassion of the heart. And so sometimes people are afraid to look within or to ask the questions, because what might I find, or who am I really? And then start to do this heart path and this heart journey, and it's like, it's all welcome. Everything is welcome. Everything is accepted. Everything. And yeah, and then that's when you're like, so now I'm going that way. Now I'm taking that path.
Oh, brilliant, Jo. Thank you so very much. Jo's website, I've just popped that into the chat, is www.sacredjourneys.org.uk. And if you're watching this on YouTube, then I will make sure that it's under the video and the information there as well. If there's anything here that's spoken to you and you really wish to learn more about Jo and her work, please check out her website, and you can connect with her through her website. Jo, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah. Great conversation. It really has. Next week, which I think could actually follow on beautifully from this, we've got a today's conversation, and myself and Scott are being joined by, and I'm not sure how to say her name because I haven't actually talked to her yet. It's either Sinja or Sinja Bowman. She's German. And she's going to be sharing with us about meditation and mantra singing to discover peace inside. So I hope that you'll consider joining us for that as well. Thank you, Jo.
Thank you, Sarah, so much. Thank you to everyone watching.
Take care, be safe, stay well. Namaste, sweet souls.
Bye.
Bye.